Hello campers, families, and friends. Welcome back to Campfire Stories. I'm Sarah with Vin's Nature Camp. This is going to be our final Campfire Stories video. With the start of June, life gets pretty busy for Vin's Nature Camp staff as we prepare to welcome campers for our summer season. We're ending though on a really interesting theme, life in a meadow. And I encourage you, if you haven't done so already, to go back and look at some of the other videos in this series and to learn about some interesting inhabitants, both plant and animal, that live in meadows. But I'm getting ahead of myself. Before we get into our stories, we have to take our time to do our final reflection together. This week, my favorite memory was getting to see some old photographs of my great-grandparents and the house that they bought in Vermont back in the 1940s. It was really neat to get to see some of that family history. I hope you have had a wonderful week and that you have a hard time choosing your favorite memory to share. But you know the drill, now it's your turn. Think back and get ready to share with those around you on how your week has been. One of the most amazing things about those old photos from my great-grandparents is seeing the change that's taken place in the landscape since then. From the 1800s to even just the mid-1900s, Vermont looked a lot different than it does now. Much of the land was cleared for pasture and fields so that livestock could graze. Now, many of those rolling meadows have grown up into mature forests that we see today. Thankfully, not all of those meadows have grown up. Meadows are a really important habitat for a lot of different types of wildlife. Sometimes we look at them and just see a bunch of grass and weeds growing. But meadows actually support a huge amount of biodiversity, as we'll learn about in these coming stories. Today's two stories will introduce us to some creatures that if you ask any Vin's Nature camper, they will tell you definitely live in a meadow and are a lot harder to catch than you might expect. Our first story comes from Keepers of the Animals by Michael Caduto and Joseph Bruchac. It is called How the Butterflies Came to Be, from the Papago people of the Southwest. Long ago, not long after Earthmaker shaped the world out of dirt and sweat he scraped from his skin, our elder brother was walking about. It was just after the time of the year when the rains come. There were flowers blooming all around him as he walked. The leaves of the trees were bright and green. He came to a village, and there he saw the children playing. It made his heart glad to see children happy and playing. Then he became sad. He thought of how those children would grow old and weaken and die. That was the way it was made to be. The red and yellow and white and blue of the flowers would fade. The leaves would fall from the trees. The days would grow short and the nights would be cold. A wind brushed past Elder Brother, making some fallen leaves dance in the sunlight. Then an idea came to him. "I will make something," Elder Brother said. "It will make the hearts of the children dance, and it will make my heart glad again." Then Elder Brother took a bag and placed it in the bright-colored flowers and the fallen leaves. Placed in it the bright-colored flowers and the fallen leaves. He placed many other things in the bag. He placed yellow pollen and white cornmeal and green pine needles. And he caught some of the shining gold of the sun and placed it in there as well. There were birds singing around him, and he took some of their songs and put them into that bag too. "Come here," Elder Brother called to his children. "Come here, I have something for you." The children came to him, and he handed them his bag. "Open this," he said. The children opened Elder Brother's bag, and out of it flew the first butterflies. Their wings were bright as sunlight and held all of the colors of the flowers and the leaves, the cornmeal, the pollen, and the green pine needles. They were red and gold and black and yellow and blue and green and white. They looked like flowers dancing in the wind. They flew about the heads of the children, and the children laughed. As those first butterflies flew, they sang, and the children listened. But as the children listened to the singing butterflies, the songbirds came to Elder Brother. Elder Brother, the songbird said, those songs were given to us. It is fine that you have given the new creatures all these bright colors, but it's not right that they should also have our songs. Ah, Elder Brother said, you speak truly. The songs belong to you and not the butterflies. So it is to this day. Though they dance as they fly, the butterflies are silent. But still, when children see them brightly dancing in the wind, their hearts are glad. That is how Elder Brother meant it to be. There is no arguing about the beauty of butterflies. One of my favorite sights in the summer is watching them fly from flower to flower. And as they do that, they're serving a really important role for our ecosystem. They're pollinating those flowers, making sure that there's a new generation of flowers once those go to seed. Now, being that brightly colored, they're bound to attract attention, particularly of hungry predators. Those colors actually can serve as protection for them. Even though they're catching the eye of predators, they're actually sending them a warning that they might be toxic or unpalatable, which means that they taste bad. And an even more clever adaptation that butterflies have, some of them, is they actually pretend to be something they're not. We call that mimicry, when one butterfly has the colorings of another that is toxic, and that helps them to protect themselves. It's pretty amazing stuff. Our next story is going to introduce us to a close relative of the butterfly, but one that is often overlooked. This one comes from Keepers of the Night, also a collection of stories by Michael Caduto and Joseph Bruchac. It is called Moth, the Fire Dancer, from the Paiute of the Great Basin. Long ago, Moth had black wings. He was a great dancer as he flew, and he loved to dance around people's fires. The people would watch him as he danced, and the young woman would laugh as he dove and fluttered and circled. They would try to catch him and dance with him, but he would always escape. Be careful, his father told him. Do not dance too close to the fire. But Moth did not listen to his father. He liked to dance and flirt with the young woman while the fires burned bright. He danced this way all through the spring and the summer. One night, near the end of summer, Moth came to dance around the fire. The young woman laughed as he danced, and he danced even harder, coming closer and closer to the flames. He dove down wildly and flapped up again, and the young woman tried to catch and dance with him. You cannot catch me, he said. I am Moth. I am the greatest dancer of all. But as he bragged, he flew too close to the flames. The fire caught him, and he spun down into the coals with burned wings. It seemed as if he was dead. His father had been watching from the shadows. He flew down and carried his son away into the forest. He put medicine on his son's burned wings and wrapped him up in a gray blanket and hid him in the bushes. Throughout the winter, the people talked in their lodges about Moth, the dancer. The young women were sad as they thought of how he had been killed by the flames. They would miss his dancing around their fires at night. They would miss playing with him as he dove and circled. At last, the winter was gone and the days began to grow longer. One night, not long after the moon of new grass, the people sat around the fire late at night. All was quiet when suddenly, out of the night came the flash of wings. Then, with wings as bright as the red of flames, someone was dancing around the fire, dancing as Moth had danced. Who is it? The people said. Who dances the way Moth danced? Said the young women. Moth has come back, but his wings are now filled with flame. And so it was. Wrapped in his gray blanket, Moth's burns had healed, and he had come back to dance once more with the people. But now, his wings were no longer black. They were gray as a blanket above, and red as sparkling flames below. We can no longer call him just Moth, the people said. He must have a new name. We will call him the Fire Dancer, and that has been his name to this day. We tend to look at moths as just small gray insects that fly around our lights at night, but there's so much more. If you really look closely, their wings have such intricate patterns, and even though they might be gray, they can camouflage right into the bark of a tree. And there are some that are super beautiful, just like the Luna moth. I think that gives any butterfly a run for its money in terms of the beauty contest. Moths also, just like butterflies, are important pollinators of flowers, so we need them for that. And they also make up a huge part of the diet of many types of wildlife, from birds and bats to spiders to frogs and toads. If we didn't have moths, a lot of those animals would be in a lot of trouble. So I think we need to give them a little bit more credit when we think about them. Now, even though we're wrapping up our weekly campfire videos, that doesn't mean that the tradition is going to end. All this summer, Vin's Nature Campers are going to be coming together around campfires and sharing stories and s'mores, of course. And you can too. You don't even need to have a campfire to do that. Simply coming together to talk about the week you've had or to share stories is a great tradition that a family can have. So wherever you are this summer, whether you're at Vin's Nature Camp or elsewhere, I hope that you do take time each week to think about all the good things that are in your life. From Vin's Nature Camp, I want to thank you for joining us these past several weeks. It's been so much fun connecting with you all, and I wish you all the best wherever you are. And remember, no matter what, you always want to have your s'more supplies ready for campfire fun.